Hello everybody. Today I will discuss how we can implement multiple language support for your Next.js website. So what do we mean by multiple language support? So this is a particular website which is a car rental website for Middle East region. As you can see, these contents are currently in Arabic and also it's oriented from right to left as Arabic does. But you can switch the language here. If you switch it to English, all of this contents converts into English, and the orientation also shifts from left to right. So how we can implement this? If you are building a website or a project where the users may come from different regions or different languages, you need to know how to implement this. So let's first discuss how we can implement it without any library, right? The basic idea is pretty simple. You just maintain a large JSON file, and inside that JSON file you will have key value pairs for each language, right? So just as an example, this can be your JSON file, and this JSON file has two parent keys, en and air. So en is for English language, air is for Arabic language, and both of them have a key called title. The English version has the title in English, the Arabic version has the title in Arabic. Pretty simple. And when you are actually using the code, you just detect the selected language and call the title. So it will be something like en dot title, right? Inside your original code. Now to make it easy for us, there are some good libraries. There are two approaches that I want to discuss today. The first approach is using this library called I18 Next, and this is kind of one of the most popular, if not the most popular library that we have for internationalization. We install this library locally. We have our own JSON file, and it automatically loads the JSON file itself and gives us a hook. Using that hook, we can just translate everything, and it supports a lot of platforms, I would say. Here you can see in the supported frameworks we have different libraries or frameworks: Flutter, React, Svelte, as you can see. So the underlying idea is same. Ultimately you are maintaining a JSON file. Either it's yourself or you can use this library that will do it for you and make it easier for you. For example, if you go to Next.js version, this is the N18 version of Next.js. Let's see. You just add this library, and then you just get started by creating some JSON files. Inside the next config, you first define which languages or locals you want to support. For example, here they are supporting English and Spanish, something like that. You add a config file to load your JSON file properly, and then you will have your translation files, which are ultimately just some of the plain JSON files that I discussed above, right? So they split it in separate JSON files, which makes it easy to organize. So if you are doing it by hand like this, you have to maintain it yourself, but this library, using this library, helps you to split out the JSON files and make it easy for you to load. And when you are inside the Next.js app itself, you can just call this hook called use translation, and you pass your key that I discussed. For example, you will pass title inside that exported function, inside this T, and it will be translated based on your language choice. So that's pretty simple. And there is one problem here. The main problem is this library is dependent on the developer. So if you have a large website where, for example, for this website they have a lot of content, so let's say they have an explore cars content, they have a blog, and it's often the case that these blogs are actually not maintained by the developers, right? So whenever they want to add anything, they have to come to the developers and tell, okay, I need to add this translation for this particular file, can you please add it for me, right? It makes the development in a large team harder. That's why there are some hosted solutions for us. For example, one of them is this Lokalise. So localized.com. If you go there, you can see that they support localization out of the box, and they have a shared UI, kind of like a CMS, right? In fact, you can leverage their AI generation or translation features as well. The idea is simple here as well. But instead, previously you were storing the JSON files on your front end, but now you're storing the JSON files in their server. For example, this is one of the projects that I showed you, this in Vivo, and this is their localization panel. So if you want to add anything, you just go there, you edit the key, and you will notice they have a different version of languages, English and Arabic. You add the English version here and the Arabic version here. That's it. So now you can add other people's, not only developers, the translations or the content writers into this dashboard. They will update the dashboard here without reaching to the developers. But how do you get the translation into the app itself? Because remember, we initially discussed, ultimately these are just JSON files, nothing else. The only difference is where are you storing those. So in our first approach, you are storing those locally, but if you use some service like this, you are storing them in their server, but still the file needs to come to your project. Let me show you how it's done. First, obviously, for Lokalise, you have to install an SDK. I'll show you later. And here they have a simple download file or download function. So this download uses the localized key and localized tokens to download the files in a JSON format and storing it into the local project, right? Pretty simple. Then you configure your next config file for internationalization. Here you can add your Lokalise and everything. And let me show you how we can use it in the actual project. So if you come here, you will see we are importing this package called Next. I want it next. We already discussed it before, right? And you again, this is a hook that exports a function called T. You import it and you pass the key inside the T function, right? It translates the original text for you. So whenever you are in English version, it is showing you English. Whenever you are in Arabic version, it is showing you Arabic. So this was not intended to be a tutorial, but just 3 approaches that we can start or approach localization. So just to summarize everything, getting started, you can try out with your own JSON file and writing everything from scratch. It can be a good learning experience. If you think that the project will grow bigger in size, but no external peoples are involved, only the developers will be working, then this library is an excellent choice. And if you think that there will be external peoples or business peoples will be involved in the translation process, then you can choose some hosted solution like Lokalise. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye.